Cool. Well, welcome everybody to August the 17th. So we're almost, I'm already in, my mind's already in September. So I'm already moving quite a far bit ahead in my mind, but I still have to endure the August heat. But it looks like next weekend is supposed to be a low of 59 on Sunday. So
Hmm.
that's a lot better than it was this morning when I jumped on my bike and it was like 78 or something like.
Oof.
Yeah, it was a blast. And that was at 7:20 this morning.
Oh. And you have humidity.
And we have humidity. I walked in the door about 10:30. My wife looked at me and went, "Is it raining outside?" So, all right, so this week we're going to be looking at basic parallels. And we're actually going to start kind of applying some of these things that we've been talking about over the summer. Joanne, you going to be ready next week?
Possibly. Yeah, possibly. Let's talk about that when we chat Wednesday or
Okay.
Thursday. You just send me a text when you meet.
I would really like to slot you in next week
All right.
so I can start focusing on getting some more invitations out.
Yeah, let's do that.
I had one that was looking at doing next week and then had to back out because they ended up having to travel. So, but I got some notes out for some other folks that I'd love to get in here and start talking, especially about at some point in time we got to start talking about kids again. And I got somebody I think is going to be really, really good at that because he talks a little differently than I do about kids, and I love that. He's a little bit more unique. Kind of comes in from the west side instead of I'm more of the linear thinker. He is like over here somewhere, and it's really cool because when he starts talking about, and he's an examiner, so he does CS1 and CS2 in the Rocky Mountains, and he's an excellent skier, an RMT, and I really respect what he says. But he's kind of like a little. I want to say that he's quirky, but that's really doesn't really describe what he is. He just comes from a different angle than some other folks do. So he's not real linear, but he listens to a lot of, he does a lot of these exams and he listens to a lot of teaches. So he really has a good perspective on kind of what he likes to see and what he likes to hear. And I think it would be good for you guys, especially for anybody who's looking at the CS level, which I encourage everybody to be doing. So, but for tonight, we're going to be looking at level one, level two, level three. And who do I got? Do I got Mike? Mike, are you there? Spreckenzy? Yeah, Mike's here.
Yep, I'm here.
All right, cool. Do you want to do a level three description or do you want to pass on that?
I'm mostly listening right now. So,
Oh, God, Lord. You're going to make me do it all, aren't you? All right, useless.
well, you're the primary host here.
I'm just a facilitator.
Okay, you're the primary facilitator. I'm the facilitator part B if needed.
All right, fine. I'll do it on my own. It's probably gonna be embarrassing because I haven't done it in a while and I didn't really take it.
Well,
So,
here's the thing, people that are going for their L3s should get the first attempt.
yeah. Well, they should hear a good one though first. So right now I'm gonna really kind of I'm gonna give a good L1, I'm gonna good L2, and then I'm gonna try to do a reasonably good L3. But what I'm gonna do first before I do any of those is I'm gonna kind of preface this with kind of like the things that I'm going to be asking in my own mind. Okay. So there's a back talk or this, backstage, all the stuff that's happening backstage in a show right before the show starts, right? And the show is very organized and things are on time. But happens behind the curtain is like chaotic and crazy, and I got to keep it all organized. But I also have a thought process that I go through, and I kind of thought that would be a good way to share with you guys so you can help develop your own because that's something I can't teach you to do, right? I could tell you all kinds of crazy stuff, but at some point in time you have to take ownership of how your own mind is going to develop these concepts, right? We all kind of know what good skiing looks like. So somebody tell me, is this good skiing?
Yes.
Looks all right.
What's their intent?
Well, I think he's intending on making basic parallels. But there are some things that kind of bother me. Right? And this is the matrix, okay? So, whenever I look at these things and I see like not Jonathan Blue level turns, and I see something that comes from the matrix, this is what's on the matrix right now, okay? This is the official PSIA line, or at least the Rocky Mountain side.
So
So
by
is this,
default, he needs to adhere to the common threads, not just the fundamentals then for basic parallel.
He should, right?
And there are some issues for the common threads that aren't observable.
Yes, there are. And there are some things that are happening with the skis, and I'm like, ooh, okay, I'm not sure that quite, that's not how we should be doing that, right? Or that's not the uber ideal, according to what we've seen. Like I said, I mean, when we watched Jonathan Blue and those special turns he made in Michigan that one year, those are ridiculous. These are not them. Which
So
gives
what
us hope.
jumps out at you to get people started? What jumps out at you, Chuck? And I'll share what jumped out at me right away.
Well, it's kind of how there's a sequential movement at the top of each turn, where pressure moves from one ski to the other a little bit sequentially. They don't tip at the same time, and they don't pressure at the same time. Okay.
And something
And
that
if you want
jumped
to
out
look
at
at,
me is similar. And in the common threads, it specifically states that that the legs will flex and extend independent of each other to carry center of mass from turn to turn. And both of his legs extend and flex at the same time. So
yes,
he gets an up and over movement.
yes. And if you really want to, I honestly believe that the piece that I'm looking at is that up and over movement is kind of a result of him not carrying counter through the entire transition. And I see that outside or the inside leg move forward right at the initiation, which causes that up and over move to happen, where he has a sequential piece of that transition where the one leg is pressuring before the other. Does that
Yeah,
make sense? That's how
he
I'm trying to
loses
tie it.
he loses that counter at the very end of transition, just at initiation as he squares up for
But
just
you
a split second.
just a split second. I mean, it's still really good skiing, but I mean, it's not what I would consider just like that uber perfect turn, right? There's just a little hiccup, like right there. There's just a few little hiccups that are happening in there.
As soon as he squares up, though, it affects other things. From the fundamental point perspective, he loses contact with that outside ski as soon as he squares, and a little more weight goes inside. That's not necessarily a bad thing because he's pressuring that new inside ski early. But instead of doing it, shall we say, passively, he's doing it rather assertively, which causes an up and over movement.
Did you guys understand that?
can you run that again?
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
So,
You get to explain it in a different way.
yeah, I mean, when you square up at the end of the turn, it shifts your weight from the outside ski to the inside ski. And many people would not think that's a bad thing because I'm pressuring what will be the new outside ski early. But it's one of those things that we've been talking about, which is I am creating pressure on that outside ski versus letting the pressure develop for that new outside ski. And so when you shift your weight to put
Wait, the
pressure
outside
on
or
it,
the inside?
you start to extend on that old inside, new outside ski. And that extension in his case is a vertical extension, forcing him to go up and over the skis. You'll see that both legs extend at the same time.
Which is not in and of itself a bad thing. It's just how. So now he's combining a little piece of that inclination, but both legs are the same length still.
Yep.
So you
But you can
notice how
see
the
how he's
inside leg is
pushing that outside leg away from him to pressure the ski versus letting the skis come under him to get weight on that new outside ski.
and there's the pivot as a result.
Yep.
Can I comment?
Sure, go
What
ahead.
what I noticed, I didn't notice up and over right away, but it makes sense, Mike, when you say that now. I was looking at, you talk about basic parallel, dynamic parallel,
Mhm.
and it's like this huge effort to maintain this basic parallel where you're not verging on any dynamic angulation at all. You want a little inclination, and then you want to have some flexion through the joints, but you're really trying to stay so particularly focused on keeping your legs parallel, keeping the skis parallel, that to
Mhm.
have an extension of the outside leg would create more dynamics in his turn. But in this basic parallel, he's almost stagnant in the lower body with his flexion. I don't see a lot of movement there. But then can you explain for me, like, this to me is like what PSIA looks for in a basic parallel. Nice and
Yeah.
easy, stable. Flexion looks relatively the same throughout the turn. I mean, he does come up and over, but his knees, do you see where I'm going? I just have
No,
to
Yeah.
I know
question
exactly what you're saying.
that
And I'm
That's
gonna,
not anymore
conversation.
though.
yeah,
Chuck,
it's,
how old is this video?
this is gotta
Yeah,
be
it kind
very,
of looks
oh,
like
it
an
says 8
older
years
skier
ago.
too.
So,
Okay,
yeah,
so right now this would not pass basic parallel at a level 2 or level 3. It would probably pass level 1. The reason is they're looking for that common thread. This is an official integrated task. So to let the body move down the hill, they want to see that outside leg shorten at the same time the old inside leg is lengthening. They want to see that dynamic in there to move down the hill. That'll get rid of that hitch in his get along at
So,
the end of his
so
transition
even in a
into
basic
shaping.
parallel, they want to see more dynamic
they
movement.
wanted
It's
more
not that it's
dynamic.
more dynamic. They want to see the movement going down the hill, not up the hill, not vertical.
Yes.
They want to see you maintain counter through the whole transition, which allows you to get a long leg and short leg happening to move the center of mass down the hill.
And
So as just a side discussion, we've been, as RMT candidates, have been talking about the changes the last 4 or 5 years and how significant they've been. And I mean, the honest to God truth is this, I think this would pass a level 2. I think it would be very, very sketchy on a level 3 side because you have to be kind of uber accurate on there. But this also gives us help. I don't know.
But one of the
Is this
things
Colby
is,
Knox? No, because he's wearing vocals. Who is this?
the thing is, as an examiner, they're going to look and see what he does in his dynamic
Right.
parallel turns to see if they see both legs extending and flexing at the same time, or if they're seeing the legs operating independently of each other to carry center of mass down the hill.
And that's the one good thing about the new scorecard for level 2 and level 3. It's kind of a unified scorecard. And they're only looking at, a total overall package. So I look at this video and I say, well, you know what? We can be a little sloppy and still get away with it. Okay. But I also see some things in there. I'm like, ooh, that's not what we're looking at right now. But this is what's on the matrix,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's what they're going with right now until they
That's what they're
update
going
it.
with.
But this doesn't meet the new criteria that got beat into us at ed staff training last fall.
Yes.
Well,
Just
Do you
saying.
have an example, Mike, of someone skiing last fall and how they?
Well, here's something interesting, and you can take this for what it's worth. During ed staff training last year, we invited the other regions to come and train with us. So I had some people from back east. I had some people from out west. I don't think I had any northern region, but I had quite an amalgam in there. And I was on my tele skis because that's what I was required to ski on that day. And what we found out is, especially when we slowed down the integrated tasks, pretty much everybody had a hard time maintaining counter through transition. And the reason we came up with is most of us were so pressure edge oriented that forces us to stay a little bit more aligned to the skis. To balance the rotary piece, you really need to maintain that counter. And so we all wound up changing our skiing to be more rotary oriented in our basic turns and even our dynamic turns. So think Jonathan Ballou and some of the turns you've seen him make recently, the newer turns where his pelvis pretty much aims towards the apex of the new turn all the time. It doesn't square up. And then you can watch the legs work independently to carry movement down the hill. When you're being more carvy, since you're following the ski, you're kind of pulling the skis under you, shifting your rate subtly, letting the skis grab them and move down the hill. But many people get in a hurry, and so they push the skis out to get in contact with the hill. But if we can maintain a counter, what happens is with patience, it allows the skis to come up under us. We retract a little bit so that our movement to the new outside ski with a little bit of patience is mere inches of the center of mass. If you watch the individual skiing here, when he steps, that center of mass moves more than an inch or so. He's got quite a bit of movement to get those skis to tip and shift.
So is that understood by everybody? That's kind of the context, right? So one of the things I've noticed when we start integrating that common thread that have counter through the transition, maintaining counter through the transition, is that it's much easier to tip your lower legs.
If you
By
were
tipping
to,
the lower legs and adjusting that pressure piece, I get grip way higher in the turn and way easier in the turn.
and if you watch the racers, the only time they maintain counter through their turns is in slalom.
Mm.
And you can correct me on that too, Chuck.
I think their effort is see the counter is not necessarily a very strong position.
No, it's
It's
not,
a
but
but it
it
gives you the
works.
most versatility and adaptability. Okay,
And that's why you see it in slalom a lot.
you
But
see
as
it in
soon as they
slalom
move to
because
GS and Super G and that, it's not so good. It's not so much anymore. They stay more aligned over their skis.
yeah, you can't do it and you can't do it as well in slalom. You have to kind of follow your skis a little bit anyway because you can't maintain pointing your body straight down the hill on medium radius turns.
Yeah, you can't.
But in slalom, you have to because the gates come so fast. You have to be able to be ready for the next turn as quickly as possible. So that
Mm-hmm.
counter allows you to do that. There will be a little twist in the turn because that's what the forces demand.
You know, Chuck, and we were watching some skiers doing not race turns, but doing basic parallel turns.
Right.
And many of them follow their skis through the whole turn, and they're pretty well stacked over their skis and don't have much, if any, counter through the transition. But before the new turn starts, the first movement is that uphill ski leads a little bit with the pelvis so that they start the turn in a countered position. And then the skis go through the arc.
So are you saying they're still countering? Because just a minute ago you said they're not really countering, they're aligned over, they're
Yeah,
stacked.
they literally, see if I can do this. Let's see, I need my spectacles to see what my image is doing here. Okay, so they're here through the turn. They stay here, they finish the turn, and then they align through this transition. Okay, but before the next turn starts, there's this movement, okay, and then this leg gets shorter to carry them into the turn. It doesn't start from here. They do this first, and then they move into the turn.
That almost sounds like they're turning with their upper body initially.
No, they're taking right here when they're like this, they don't have much lead with their ski, especially on flatter slopes when they're practicing. So the first thing they do is they create an artificial lead.
I'm going to
here.
say they do an artificial lead, but I'm going to say it a different way. They have to get the inside leg out of the way.
Yep.
And the best way to do that is to get that leg forward. And it happens because it happens so fast in slalom, you actually have to make it a conscious movement. I'm not saying we do this in our skiing. When we do that, I mean, that's what he's doing. He's creating an artificial lead, like right there. It's like, where did that come from? That wasn't natural.
But then you're
Michaela
saying,
when you're watching Michaela do it here, where'd you go? When you're
It
watching
was some
Michaela
guy
do
we
it
were
here,
watching here a while ago, Chuck. I
yeah,
don't
when you're
remember
watching
who he
Michaela do it
was.
here, watch how she has to move that inside leg out of the way, because look at the angle that she's created. If that inside leg is in the way, she's dead. So watch the inside leg move forward. There's the counter. She transitions, then she gets the leg out of the way. And he has to move forward to get that to do that. Now, she still wants it to grip and bite, right? Because it's also a balance point for her.
yeah.
So she'll still be using her glutes to pull that leg back a little bit to try to create some grip on the tip. But she has to get that leg out of the way.
And did you notice how the legs are working independently? One
Yeah.
leg is getting shorter as the other is getting longer.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a critical piece here, and they want to see that in basic parallel turns and dynamic.
They do.
And that's what you don't see here if you watch the legs.
So what were you saying again, just briefly, with counter in the giant slalom and downhill?
So remember, she's moving from force to force, right? She doesn't have time to worry about, oh my God, are my hips pointed down the hill, blah, 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 right? She's got to resist more forces than you do, right? I would say at this point in time, she's probably resisting 3 to 4 times her body weight, right? And if you've watched this little thing that she did like a couple of days ago where she had 40 pounds on her back and she was jumping over a bench, right? I don't think mortal people can do that. I'm pretty sure I can. I watched another video where Demelza was trying to do the same thing and was struggling with 20 pounds, right? Because it's really freaking hard. But she does that because that's what her body, these are the demands on her body. So she's suffering right now like 3 or 4 G's. So she has to align. and she aligns easily because she can stick that leg out, and she rotates over her femur bone, then she's in a really strong balanced position. But now she's got to get out of it. That's why you see this upper body kind of like align back up. But she's aligning to the new turn. This is a better angle when you watch the whole thing, right? She's still got her body is still trying to point down the hill as she rotates the legs underneath her. Then she's getting ready, and then bam. But all of this is happening in like 3 or 4, well, it's giant slalom, so it's like 3 or 4 ski lengths. In slalom, it's like a ski length and a half. All that force is happening really, really fast, really quickly. In slalom, she has to stay like this because balance demands it. She has to stay balanced in order to go through the slalom gates. We're kind of off track here, but I wanted to make sure that you guys understood. He's not, these forces are not making those kind of demands on him, right?
Mhm.
I mean, this is our ski instructor turn of, okay, everybody, follow me. You're all level 4 adults or you're level 5 kids. Follow me down the hill. We're going to make some nice ski instructor turns, right? And there might be like 1.4 G's on the outside leg. And, you know, we don't have any of those demands that Michaela does.
Hey, Chuck, I
Yeah.
just put a video out in the chat. It shows some racers, and you can see how
On free ski.
they actually square their body up and lose their counter at the end of the turn, and then you can watch them reset that counter before they dive into the next turn.
This one. What is going on? What happened here? Get off screen. So
Yeah, so
everybody
watch
confused yet?
watch till about 27 and then start at about second 27. And that slows things down a little bit.
Let's go straight to the YouTube video so we get the full view here. All right, come on. 27.
See, the slalom skier, you can see how he rotates the upper body, but see how they square up there?
Mhm.
And then you see the first thing that happens is the pelvis and foot move, and then the turn starts. And the shorter the turn, the more counter is maintained from turn to turn. And that goes along with what Chuck was saying.
Yeah. All right, so back to this. Questions? Level 1 description. Somebody give me a fundamental. Don't everybody speak at once. Or we can go ahead and move on. Because we have
I have a question.
this guy. Go ahead.
You said in our guy who's on the Matrix, and that's who we're watching again, right? This is the guy we started with, right?
Yes.
Okay. You had said that he's doing something sequentially, and I'm not seeing that. If you could help me with that.
I get it. And it's very, very subtle.
Okay.
And it's like when we get to like right here, I'm watching. See how one ski is turning before the other?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think this is a pressure related piece, not necessarily rotationally related piece,
Okay,
right? Because when he gets to this position here, the inside edge actually, the inside ski actually grips. Like right
sooner,
there, you can see the little ski snow interaction there. The grip of the tip
right.
of the inside ski grips before the outside ski does.
So he has too much weight on the inside ski when he's initiating his turn.
Well, I mean, look at his body position. What do you think, Laura?
Right, it looks like he's more over the inside ski.
Yeah, he's pretty inclined, isn't he?
Right, yes, yes, he's more inclined than angled, that's for sure.
Exactly. And one
Okay.
of the reasons why we were talking about it earlier, you may have came in a little later. One of the things we were talking about pretty early was how he's got a little bit of an up and over movement because both
Yeah, no,
legs
I
extend.
heard that and I can see the up and over movement, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So there's
Right.
he hasn't gotten the inside leg out of the way.
right.
And what is a result is as he inclines, he grips with the inside ski before the outside ski.
And the up and over is also because he's working his legs together, not independently, is that right?
Yes, I've
Right.
honestly believed that too. And part of that is I think it points to the fact that he's not maintaining counter through the actual end of the transition. He
Okay,
loses he loses his counter at the end of the turn,
okay.
right
Since
in
I'm
here,
now
right?
here and unmuted, let me just ask two more questions. So
Sure.
when you said new standards, that's new last year, not new again this year.
It's new, yeah, new last year.
New last year, okay.
Yes.
And then, what was,
And remember, it's on a sliding scale.
right, okay. So then, oh, in terms of the counter, because at first I was hearing, oh, you have to maintain so much counter even in a medium radius basic. And then I was hearing, no, it's definitely less. And I felt like last year when I was working with, say, Jen Metz,
Yes.
she was like, you cannot over counter. If you're
Yes.
over countered, you're
It
weaker.
is, yes,
Okay, and then
100%.
when I was working with people who were less high than Jen Metz, which I guess is most people, that was where I was hearing more the like, no matter if you're doing, well, I know I don't have my camera on, but no matter even if you're doing base, medium, you just have to be pointed down the hill the whole time. And now I'm not really quite sure where I'm hearing the new amount of
There
counter.
is an appropriate amount for every turn.
Okay.
How about that?
Okay,
It
so but
depends.
it should never be zero. It should never be I'm flat
Should
out
be,
square
you
to
should
that.
not be square to your skis, no.
Okay, thank you.
You should, it depends on the kind of turn that you're trying to make. If you're making short radius performance turns, your body's going to be very much countered almost through every turn. If you're making medium radius turns, well, because you're going more across the hill than a short radius turn, you're going to have to follow your skis at some point in time. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
And actually, I have a video that would probably show that really well because I still like these. This is a Japan technical thing, interski technical. And if you watch this guy make his medium radius turns, and these are not like truly spectacular medium radius turns, he maintains counter, but the appropriate amount. Does that make sense?
See how his legs work independently to move him
Mhm.
down the hill.
Mm-hmm.
He still follows his skis. Watch his zipper line, right? They're following his skis. But the zipper line's always pointing to the inside of the next turn. Every time.
Yeah, I like these turns much better than the other one that's on the
I wonder, well, because these were like last year.
So we need to put him on the matrix.
We need to put him on the matrix because nobody can execute these turns. That's why.
How is he any different than Baloo?
Oh, well, actually, we can look at USA. I don't have it up queued up, but Blue is not quite this technical. Blue's very, very good. Don't get me wrong. I think he's the gold standard for the USA, but he's not even this technical. This is like almost uber technical.
But isn't this more to dynamic than
It is.
basic?
It's more of that
Right.
dynamic turn.
Because this is not
Right.
what we should be aiming for if we're demonstrating basic parallel to our guests.
No, because these are too carvy.
Right. Okay.
The only difference is he's not sliding out on every turn, right? He's not allowing the ski to he's
Tails are
more
following
carvy.
the
He's
tails
more
are following.
carvy. It's a little bit more carvy.
Hmm.
But that's the point I'm trying to drive home here is that this is the appropriate amount of counter he needs. When you look at this guy, the counter is not quite as much, right? I mean, the counter is appropriate to the kind of turn he's trying to make, right? His zipper line doesn't move as much because his skis aren't moving across the hill as much.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't have to follow it, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's like at maybe 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock, but his skis are moving from 2 to 10. The point is that zipper's always pointing to the inside of every turn. Yes, Katie, you had your hand up first.
Sorry, I just wanted to, I think it's easy to see this, what we're talking about.
Yeah.
When you're talking about legs independent of each other.
Yes.
But I feel like I feel like I'm gonna get a little tripped up, or I might say it wrong when you're actually on the snow and you're talking about legs moving independent of each other, but how is that there's a danger to be sequential. That's what I'm trying to say.
There
Right,
is a
so
danger.
the sequentials were more rotation maybe, and we're talking about like, can you just clarify independent leg movement? Because the danger is if I'm focusing on trying to move my legs independently, I could get into a sequential habit. Make
Yeah.
sense? What?
That was me failing 6
Oh.
times
Oh, yeah.
because I never recognized that movement patterns that were de rigueur of 1990 don't work very well in 2021.
I just want to bring it up because I
No,
understand it conceptually, but I think it's gonna be harder to do skiing.
you know the new, and that's the whole point of these new common threads, is that these are the things that we're looking for in skiing. What was I incapable of doing? Keeping both skis on the snow, right? I was always launching off onto the new ski from the old ski. Little bit of a down pressure because that's what we did. That's what you had to do back in the old days. But now you can't do that. You can run from one end to the other. And I understand the body mechanics of how that works.
And that's so much because of the difference in technology of ski design and engineering,
We
right?
talked about this last week. I honestly believe, because we've been watching like skiers from this last year or Interski, which was what, 2 years ago, 2 winters ago, and skiers that were 6 and 7 years ago, and it's not the same skiing. We've been watching skiers from like the latest videos from the latest selection compared to the ones in 2018, which is only 7 years ago, and it's not the same skiing. And I quietly commented, I think we're finally catching up to the technology. We're starting to figure out how to make the skis work for us instead of the other way around. But we're like wildly on this tangent now. Mike, I need to reel it back in. You got your hand up. You're going to show me how to do that, right?
Yes, we're going to hopefully reel it back in, but several things. One, this is for Katie. And the actual common thread states a countered relationship is maintained through the transition between turns. You notice it doesn't say how much.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because
if you're doing pivot slips, how much counter are you going to have?
the appropriate amount.
Which is going to be a lot more than doing medium or large radius turns.
Yeah.
Okay, does that make sense?
So it's that famous PSIA statement whenever you ask an examiner or a clinician, hey, how much am I supposed to do this? And they'll always say, depends.
Yep.
It
So the
depends.
big thing is just don't square up. Always maintain a little bit. The second one is, and this is for Katie and others, we're talking about this long leg and short leg. If you guys have got the newer Zoom, up at the top of the screen, you'll see check screen, and then you'll see a meeting. If you click on the meeting, the person talking tends to have the bigger window.
When did they,
But you can play with the concept. Let me turn my video back on. So you can play with the concept of the long leg, short leg. Standing in a door, center yourself and just shorten one leg and see how you move to the doorstop without moving your upper body and shoving with your arms. Shorten the leg, keeping your body weight on the leg, and see how you can move back and forth without using anything in your upper body to give you the feel of the long leg and short leg moving your center of mass.
oh, and by the way, Katie, sequential movement happens from all the fundamentals. You can have a rotational movement, give you a sequential movement. You can edge improperly where you tip one before the other. That's
Oh, okay.
sequential. When you pressure one, when you try to get off one ski before the other, that'll give you a sequential movement. It's kind of runs the gamut. So sequential movements end up being an indicator of something that's happening from a timing, from the dirt side, timing, duration, rate, or intensity that tells you that something's going on.
Thanks for circling back to that. That was helpful
Yeah.
because I was stuck thinking it was rotation.
No,
Yeah,
it's
and
not
if you're
always
playing
rotation.
in the door space like that, the movements have to be simultaneous, not sequential, and it has to be a long leg, short leg, because if both legs extend, you don't move.
Can you define sequential?
Sequential would be how
One,
you
two.
walk. One foot goes forward, then the other foot goes.
It's a 1-2 movement where you see one thing happen and another thing will happen. Ideally, we want our edges to rotate or go from one edge to another simultaneously and the same rate and time and the same amount.
But isn't sequential at the
see-
same time in sequence? Oh, because it's in sequence, one or the other. So
Yeah.
I got you now.
Yeah, it's a
Oh.
1-2 movement.
So if you think about it, a wedge Christie, even though the movements are continuous, it's a 1-2.
It's a
Because you
1-2.
make the wedge reside on it, and then the second movement is matching the ski as it rotates faster than the outside ski to catch up.
Yeah.
There's a way to think about it.
Does that make sense, Rita?
Yeah, thank
All
you.
right. I'm moving on because we
Move
have
on.
another skier here. And he is, I'm going to say he's probably a level 3 candidate, but he has very much a lot of level 2 things. Okay. So from a level 1 standpoint, somebody throw out a fundamental. Give me a fundamental. Not ski snow interaction. Dave's dying too. Come on, Dave, give me one.
Fore aft.
Fore aft. All right, cool. Let me get him up above again. I haven't watched him. I didn't even think about fore aft. How dare you?
Only the
Oh, what are you
most
doing?
important one, right?
Huh?
Only the most important one to start with.
Only the most important one, yeah. So, all right. From a level 1 standpoint, I believe the skier is relatively balanced over the skis. And for the most part, the skis are bending in the middle towards the back.
Now, should we be saying, well, if you can see it, at the initiation of the turn, would they be bending at the tip and then just
This
at
is
the
this
apex?
this is a level one.
Oh,
So
okay.
level one is just like an overall description, right?
Okay.
From a level one process, if I'm looking at him from a process standpoint, what I want to see is, do the feet look like they're underneath the seat? And do the skis look like the spray's coming off the sides pretty much throughout the turn? And what I'm seeing is that sometimes the seat's over the feet, and sometimes the skis are pushing from the rear.
Hmm.
Then I can go into the level two process. And the level two process is a little more complicated, right? And what I'm going to encourage you to do is start looking at the skier as in, when do the skis bend, or when do they grip in the turn? So what I'm watching is a skier that is where the skis are mostly bending in the last third,
Mm-hmm.
and they're
Yep.
really kind of bending from the back of the ski, or it's coming from the back of the ski. This is the process. This is not the description yet, right? So this is where I'm making decisions about what I'm seeing. Okay? And I'm seeing a lot of kind of like, overall, I'm seeing like a lot of kind of pushing of the skis around, looking for that grip piece, right? Where he's kind of pushing the skis out from underneath me. So then I can start putting a value to that. And I go, okay, I'm looking at fore aft with this particular skier. I honestly think at the beginning of the turn, he's balanced, where the skis are bending in the middle, but as he goes through the turn into the shaping phase, he tends to go a little bit back. And then at the finish phase, he's a little bit back further still, which causes the skis to start to bend in the middle at the top, but start to bend in the middle and towards the back behind the heel, or at the heel piece in the middle of the turn, and really kind of behind the heel piece at the end of the turn. And I think he's doing that because he kind of loses, he's a little bit more upright in his upper body, where he's not quite as, I'd like to see a little bit more flex in his hips, so he'd have his chest more, a little bit more over the tips of his skis. I think he has an appropriate amount of bend and flex in his knees and his ankles. I think if you tried to change those, it probably wouldn't change anything else. I think he needs a
You
little
want to
bit more
bring,
flex.
you want him to bring his feet more underneath him.
I'd like to see, yeah, one or the other. I'd like to either see the feet very broad underneath him, or his body a little bit more over his feet. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that comes from the hips, not the ankles and the knees. And that would be a level two description. And I would want to track something else, right? So give me another fundamental.
Edging.
Edging, cool. So the edging is pretty uniform from top to bottom. He does have a relative pretty uniform. I mean, the edges kind of go on and they got to go off in a progressive manner. I know a lot of people hate to hear that, but they go like, they start at the initiation, they go like this, and then they get to here. But the highest edge angle is a little bit, quite a bit actually, after the fall line. Does that make sense? And the edging comes from tipping of the body and less from the angulation piece. Any questions on that? That's a level two description.
So, and what were you commenting on with regard to inclination with him?
Well, because he inclines, That's where his method of angulation is coming from, or his method of putting the skis on, tipping the skis, is coming from inclination.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Would you like to know why?
Yeah.
Because now we're venturing into level 3 territory. It's how he achieves grip. He pushes his skis out. He doesn't align over them to allow them to push back to him. So watch the tails, especially on these turns here. Watch him push out, searching for grip. And he does it by inclining.
I was gonna say, isn't it more inclination? There's not a lot of.
There's a lot of inclination, right? He doesn't really, he creates some angles, but it's all late in the end of the turn, right? Where all the forces are at. Where ideally we'd like to see him tip the lower legs to achieve grip before he pressures it with his more, pressures it more so he can get grip high in the turn. All happens at the end of the turn.
What you're just saying with regard to that a few minutes ago is that if he was maintaining counter and independently extending and flexing his legs, it would allow them to come more underneath him and initiate a turn where he would be able to receive the pressure rather than creating it.
Yes, yes, and no. Yes. I think from the overall standpoint, I think you're correct. I think there's a little bit more nuances in that, right? Because I'm looking at how and why he's achieving what he's achieving. So I'm looking at him from like a level 3 standpoint. Why is he doing what he's doing? Well, the reason why he's doing what he's doing is probably because he doesn't understand and he needs to tip the lower legs in order to get grip at it early in the turn. So he's kind of doing what a lot of our recreational skiers do, which is kind of stand up a little higher with his upper body and then push the heels to find the grip.
Mm-hmm.
That's the why. Now I need to figure out how to make him change that. I want him to get him a little bit more aligned over the outside ski, which requires him to bend his upper body a little bit more so that he has more balance over the ski. That will allow him to tip into the turn with his lower legs, which will allow him to get more grip at high in a turn, so he can allow the skis to push against him instead of him pushing against the skis. That would allow him to get more grip at the high of the turn and give him more of that, more of a C-shaped turn. Okay, give him a rounder, more balanced turn. Because one of the other things I noticed from a level 3 standpoint is these turns keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Every turn is a little bit bigger, right? Which means he's not really using speed control.
Mm.
So now I've tied back this piece of, well, these are the things I'm saying. And remember, this is all objective. I'm not instituting any, well, this is what I like to do to him to make him change. I'm not, that's more of a subjective piece. I'm just objectively describing what I see. I think that should be really, really important for you guys is to understand is that when we're doing an MA, wait for the examiner to ask you how you would institute the change, because now that ventures over the fence into the more subjective part, right? They may be asking you, okay, well, I want you to, how would you change this person? Well, the change is going to be, I'd like to see him institute, I needs to be A, more bend at the waist. It's going to allow him to be more balanced over the skis, which is going to allow him to tip his lower legs into the turn earlier, which is going to get him that grip he needs early so he can get the grip to come around. That's going to be the body mechanics I'd like to see. And what's going to happen is the skis are going to tip more evenly, and I'm going to have pressure on the tips of the skis, which are going to allow the skis to do their thing to allow him to grip and start the turn in at the initiation. Because that will keep him from doing all these things at the end of the turn. Consistently faster and faster and faster. Yay?
Mhm.
How badly did I screw that up? I think this guy's a good skier. I think he's a good skier. I think the problem that he has is that overall, from an overall standpoint, if I was training him, is that we need to figure out how to get him to grip the skis earlier in the turn so that he can have the consistent shape and speed throughout all the turns. Because everything is the end of a turn, from end of turn to end of turn, he just consistently goes faster and faster and faster.
He needs to learn how to use his subtalar joint.
Exactly. And this now we're going into the subjective piece, right? Because I'm
Right,
looking
but
at this skier and I'm going, does he fully understand what he's trying to do? Right? Or is everybody kind of talked around him and he doesn't understand what they're talking about?
yeah.
You know, and that's where we're like, okay, so now we got to ask some questions about this skier to him and say, hey, how do we need to take this lesson in a direction that's going to help him? And that's the first question I'm going to have is with him is, hey, anybody ever talk to you about how we use our lower legs to start a turn? And he may look at me like I've got 5 heads.
So Chuck,
Yeah.
everything you said was good.
Yeah.
I might simplify it. I mean, you were starting with fore aft and now they want to hear a
Well, I was
technical
combining the 4 out.
fundamental
Yeah.
through all phases. So I might start out by saying at turn initiation, the ankles and the hip flexors maintain the same angle, but the knee angles open, moving them forward on the skis. At shaping phase of the turn, the knees bend more than the ankles and hips.
Are you talking about the ideal, right?
Well, I'm talking about what I'm seeing.
Okay.
And at the finish phase, the knees bend even more. And then at transition into initiation, the knees open, but the ankles and hips still, they maintain the same angle. And then as the turn progresses, the knees bend more and more. As a result of the knees being bent more than the hips, he's basically riding from the center of the skis to the tail of the skis. He doesn't really use the fronts.
Yes.
Is a different way to say it.
Probably more appropriate. It's been a while since I've had to do one of these. I got to get back into practice myself.
You and me both.
And don't worry, we're going to be doing this every week for the next. What is the next year? How many Saturdays do we have left? How many Sundays do we have left?
Not enough.
Not enough, right? No, too many. I want to be on skis tomorrow.
So
But
does
I can't
that
afford
make
a ticket
sense?
to Portillo.
So does that make sense from a level 1 perspective, talking fore aft, which really starts at the ankles and how they're flexed?
Yes.
And it's
They
okay
do.
to tell me
They-
I'm full of it.
No, they do. I think they're starting to think about body mechanics in there, but it's very simplified, right? Skis are bending sort of in the middle, and the reason why is because I think he's basically over the middle of his skis, except for at the end of the turn where they're kind of more at
Yeah.
the back of the turn.
And I was just staying with the fore aft fundamental. I wasn't doing a generic description of the skier. If I were to do a generic description of the skier, I would say, he's all over the board. The turns start out with a roundish turn shape and a long finish. And then the finish starts becoming part of the initiation of the new turn. And the length of the turn, the shaping phase gets longer and longer to the point that they are no longer controlling their speed until they start to shorten the arc of the turn towards the end of the run, where the speed starts to slow down again.
Yeah, in an effort to stop. I mean, that's a long turn there. That's a really long turn. And then he suddenly like,
Yep. But he has very little finish phase on those longer turns. But he starts out with a roundish turn with a long finish.
inside ankle opens in the turn to create excessive lead. Yeah. I'm gonna say, Dave, I don't it is an excessive lead. I look at these things kind of like a ladder. I think the next body position he's going to be into as soon as he discovers that he can stand on that outside ski a little bit more, is he'll probably start to rotate over it,
Mm.
which means he'll probably end up being like hip dump, right? Because that's where people normally go the next time around.
So he said he's going to rotate over his outside ski.
Yeah, so he'll rotate and he'll start pointing his body to the outside of the turn, right? But
And
the hip dump seems to be like a rite of passage. You either do it now or you do it later, but at some point in time, everybody does it. It's a very strong position, right?
um,
Especially coming from the racing world. It's a very strong position. You just watch Michaela do it.
hmm.
But we don't need to because we're not pulling 4Gs. You know, we might be pulling 2Gs at the max, even as ski instructors and dynamic turns.
Speak for yourself.
As Mike goes careening off into the trees. All right, cool. All right, I got another video. We got about 20 minutes left. Any other questions on this guy? Where would I take him?
Sorry, Jack, this is Roman.
Yeah.
So the opening of the inside ankle, I think creates kind of then has the more sitting back because of the opens the inside ankle. So probably work on the retraction of his inside ski. That will happen to help to keep balance, to have him or staying over of the on the middle of the ski.
Yes, I think you're correct. How would that help him with with the changes that he has now? That would be the only thing I'd ask you on that, Roman. I think
That
you're
would
correct, 100%. Don't let that inside leg move forward, because as soon as you do, you start to rotate, and that's where the hip dump comes from.
then he'll have more time to maintain a proper shape of the turn and
Yeah.
keep the turn shorter and control speed.
So would that be a major focus for you on this skier?
I would think so. That would be something that would help um, to move his upper body over the middle of the ski and help him to keep his hips pushing forward. And that would also help to work on the counter.
Okay. Does he maintain counter?
I don't think so.
No, not through the entire turn. He has good counter right up into the time that he starts to initiate the next turn. He's kind of like whoever that was. There's he lost it. Right there's good counter, then he loses it. There's good counter, then he loses it, right? And the
Mm.
reason
And
why is because he feels like he's got to push that leg forward instead of just shortening the inside leg.
Mhm.
then, of course, then his upper body follows the turn.
Yeah. So he's not aligning over the ski, he's pushing out, which means this leg is now going out with the other leg. But he needs this leg to balance on, so he just shoves it forward to kind of help him balance on it. What would happen if he aligned over it first and then shortened the inside leg? He'd be here. But now he's got that angulation piece that I'm over the tipped ski early, which allow that to grip early, which allow him to pull around the turn. That's where I would take it. He has to figure out how to not push the ski out to get grip. How can we grip up here? We need to line a little bit over the inside ski or outside ski early and then allow the ski to push us.
That
Does that
would
make
be
sense, Roman?
short leg, long leg
Short leg, long leg.
combination.
Yes. He doesn't do short leg, long leg.
Mhm.
And he might be a man of a certain age, right? You know, like you and me. And
More
we're
like me.
lazy.
More like me.
We're really lazy people, right? That's hard work. No, I mean, right there is a perfect example. See these turns here? He doesn't really shorten the inside leg to allow himself to even build angles. So he just ends up inclining and then inclining. Except he's not doing it this way. He's pushing out, then pushing out, and then pushing out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're saying he's leading with his inside ski, and then that's leading to more pressure on the outside ski, rotation with pressure on the outside ski, leading
He's,
to the hip dump.
yeah, it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Yes, if you push the inside ski forward, it will put more weight on the outside ski, but it traps the hip. And now the only way you can create more angles is by dumping.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Chuck,
Yes, ma'am.
could you say again, hip dump? I think that's something I do, so I should know what it means.
Actually, I haven't really seen you do hip dump yet.
Okay, well, tell me what it is here then.
All right. So hip dump is, hopefully you can see me. All right. So hip dump is if I am aligned this way laterally, right, and I lift up this leg like this, and I've got a natural angle, right? That means if I come in, if I drop down here, I've got a nice natural angle. Hip dump is if I go here, I push that leg forward, and then I rotate over the outside leg. Does that make sense? It's a really strong position. I've added a rotational component. That's a good thing, right? I've
Right?
added a lateral component. I have a nice lateral piece. The problem is, even if I'm in this position where standing here, I am now completely trapped. And I pointed my body to the outside of the turn, and I'm going this way, I'm trapped. The only way I can incline more, or the only way I can build angles is by inclining more.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
yeah.
It's like I said, it's kind of ouch. I had a cramp. When my hamstring- I got 42 mile or 37 miles in today.
Oh, wow.
So it was a long morning, and my legs are like, oh my God, my calves are just dying. But the point is that it's kind of like a rite of passage because it feels really, really, really strong. But the problem is once you dump into it, it takes a long time to get back out of it again. So that's why it's a problem.
You know,
Michaela does it because she's got 4Gs working on her. She has to align. It's a really, really strong position, but she's really, really disciplined on getting out of it as quickly as humanly possible. And you see her when we were watching that video.
you know, and correct me if I'm wrong on it though, Chuck, is if you shove the foot forward, you create an artificial lead and an artificial counter. And what happens with the artificial lead and counter is you overpressure the front of the trailing ski and overpressure the tail of the leading ski, which locks you into that turn.
It's counter, but it's not counter down the hill. It's counter to the side of the hill.
Yep. That's another way to look at it.
Yeah. You're countering laterally, not that way. We want to try to maintain counter. We want to maintain counter this way going down the hill, but as soon as we hip dump, now we're pointed this way. We're pointed to the outside of the turn. And we lose our ability to be adaptable and versatile and all those wonderful words that the PSIA loves. Right, because they love multi-syllable words. Laura, is that a good enough explanation? Because I really would like to move on to the next guy.
Yeah, no, this made total sense. Thank you.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll talk about it this winter, all right? Because I think it is a rite of passage. We all have gone through it. Me, Kellen fought it for a long time, especially on one side. Everybody does. Yep. All right, so here is our next video victim. This is an honest to goodness level 3 candidate. I'd love to have somebody else do a description of him, but I'll be right back. So today's new flavor is Tropical Hop Slam by Bells. Oh, we lose him? No, there he is. That's a pretty good skier, isn't it? Yes, David. David said, I think counter's purpose is to have similar ankle angles and contacts with the front of the boot. It is, and it also allows us to move our lower body with more, it gives us more flexibility. Not flexibility like I have more flexibility because of my muscles, but it gives us the ability to move our lower body more independently and more, gives us all this movement that we can move across with our ankles and knees, gives us the angles that we want. It gives us the ability to rotate, gives us the ability to pressure independently, gives us the ability to move forward and backwards because our hips are open. But like I said, as soon as we start to rotate against where we're trying to go, that's when we get locked and we can't do any of those things.
So I'd like to say one thing about this guy, but
Yeah.
not a full description.
Sure.
It seems like he's not flexing, extending his legs independently. So in order for him to turn, he's doing an up unweighting. I don't think that's a term we've been using recently, but just he's got a lot of up and over movement because his legs aren't moving independently.
So do you want to use that one as a common thread?
So I would use that he's not using his legs independently
Cool.
to move his center of mass. Instead, he's using more, he goes up and over, so he's using more inclination to get his center of mass from turn to turn.
Yeah, it's a little bit more disciplined though, isn't it? It's a better quality turn.
Yes, but I still think he does have a pretty noticeable up and down movement, I think.
Yeah. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing though, is it? I mean, last week we watched
I
Riley
thought we were
McGashin.
supposed to be under the glass ceiling.
Well, yes and no, but we watched Riley McGashin do extended turns, modified turns, and retraction turns. And they were still excellent turns.
But I'd have to go back and look at him, but did his head move up and down?
Yeah.
It did?
It did in his extended turns.
Okay.
But the point that the point of watching, go go back to the last week's email because that is our ideal and look at it again. I want you to really look at it again. This guy is not doing what Riley was doing, no. Because Riley's one of those, what, Mike, top 10 skiers in the world? And they're really, really disciplined about how they achieve counter. So when he was doing it, there was none of this up and over movement. And he was gripping really early in the turn. And I'm not saying this guy isn't gripping early in the turn. This is a pretty good turn. But he's kind of stuck between two places. So who wants to do a level 3 on him? Who wants to do a level 2 on him? You guys are all scared. I see deer in headlights. Who wants to just talk about it? We only got like 7 minutes. Yeah, Josh Duncan Smith is very, very good at that too. He's another one of those guys that's, you know, I put him in the top 10. There's so many skiers that are, I mean, there's just some skiers that I keep going back to every single time. And I like Josh. I think there's some folks that kind of knock him, but I think he's a really, really good skier. Really good demonstrator. JF Boulier, definitely Jonathan Ballou. These Japanese skiers that are out now are just stellar. Absolutely stellar. That's Take Nashikawa, I think is his name. Obviously Riley, the guy from Austria. I can't remember his name right off the bat. Sorry, names are my weakness. There's a lot of them that are really good, but there's just ones I keep going back to. I mean, obviously I go back to, what's his face from Ski World all the time because he keeps popping up in videos because he's so good. So let's attack it from this angle. When does this guy achieve grip? When do the skis take him in a new direction? Come on, start skiing. We only need 15 seconds of intro.
I think he's got gripping at the apex.
Yeah, maybe a little bit before in some turns.
Yeah. I think a little bit before the apex. So he's got grip a lot earlier than our last guy.
Cool. So that kind of tells us a little bit about him. So how is he achieving grip? Remember, this is the process. This is the backstage work that we're doing before the production, right? So how is he achieving grip? I need to put him on do we have no, we can't do a clip. I need to just start clicking on him. So how does he achieve grip?
Tipping angles and edging.
Tipping what?
Angles.
Cool. So he has an understanding of that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously watching him demonstrate it. So that tells me he understands that there is a dynamic that's happening in his lower legs that's allowing him to grip here because this is before the apex, isn't it? I'm watching Snow start to grip and start taking him in a new direction before he even reaches the apex. And then you can see the lower legs start to tip really early in the turn, right? Those knees start to point downhill as he's finishing. So he's finished his turn and watch his knees start to point down the hill before he changes directions. This is different than the other guy. So we got that working for us. What are some things that we're looking that we feel like are detractors? I know Mike's got some comments, but we're going to hold off on Mike. I got some comments, but I'm going to hold off on me. So what are some common threads that we could look at also with this guy? Is he controlling his speed throughout the turn?
Yes.
Yeah.
His skis are simultaneously guided to begin the turn.
Yeah. Those are good things, right?
Yeah, his skis remain in contact with the snow.
Yeah. Right.
I have to see, it looks like his ankles are working in unison.
I would say they're pretty much working in unison, both this way and this way.
So they're creating matching forward angles.
Not all the time, but I'm going to give him a little. I think we can go. If we stare at Jonathan too much, it becomes unachievable. Right? I would say for the most part, they're pretty much, unlike the last guy. David kind of pointed this out. The inside ankle opens up at the turn. That was one of the things, but I was like, I don't want to dive into that too much. But he was losing his ability to. When you watch this guy, you watch the inside leg, right? It's a little bit different angle than the outside leg, right? It's a little bit more upright, right? So he's losing it, where this guy is pretty close. And again, both this way, because we don't look at it both just this way. We always look at it this way too. So do they move in unison laterally, and do they move in unison forward and fore aft? So what other? We have some other common threads.
His legs flexing and extending independent of each other to move his center of mass into the next turn.
Cool.
And then lastly, looking at is he maintaining counter through transition?
Well, there's still one more that's kind of related to that.
Oh, torso stability, maintaining body mobility.
Are we watching torsal stability?
No, because he's a little late on the counter at the end of the turn.
He
So,
loses his counter, but he
Yep.
loses it in it. He loses it because watch the pole plant. God, I gotta get this guy skiing.
when I said he's late on the counter, I mean because he doesn't have it, and then he kind of switches into the next rotation, right? So he loses
watch
it.
the pole plant. So when he pole plants, like right there. Oh,
Barely.
huh?
Yeah, there was barely any pole plant there.
It is a pole plant, but it's like initiating in the next sequence of events,
Yeah, it's not.
which is what it's supposed to do. But he's doing it in a weird way.
It's not an edge change though.
Yeah. Not an edge change. It's because he needs to start rotating the other direction. So I'm going to say because this guy, doesn't maintain counter through the turn, we're going to see that a lot. He doesn't have upper body stability to create lower body mobility. He squares up a lot. And if we go back to that's the one thing that he's doing really well for the most part. There's occasionally you'll see the pole plant and then the body turns. But like right there, there's an upper body rotation. But for the most part, he's trying to maintain upper body discipline.
Is that the dog?
Yes, it is.
Okay. That's all right. Okay.
Which is good. They're walking the dog for a while. Use your class time.
Ugh, I gotta dump this first 15 seconds.
You're gonna, okay, well, you can, I mean, you can move mine.
So does that make sense? We're watching this guy. He's a very, very good skier. How would he change if we were able to keep that upper body from rotating as much as it does?
How, if you, in other words, you're saying if he maintained counter through the transition?
Well, it's not necessarily always counter through the transition, right? It's also, he gets to this position here, but he's square,
Right.
Uh-huh.
right? And then he gets to here and he starts to create some counter,
It's
and then
it's
he immediately shoves the leg forward and he loses it.
it's his outside shoulder keeps following through the turn.
There you go. It does the entire time.
And so if he was able to maintain counter though through transition and aim for the apex of the next turn, and therefore his with the skis coming underneath him and allowing him to receive pressure, he wouldn't be throwing that shoulder forward any longer.
Well, and the question becomes why? What is he gaining from rotating that outside shoulder? This is a good skier, right? They hide their faults. Right? We're good enough now, we're skilled enough now, we're starting to hide all of our faults. Right? I'm looking at this guy. It's good skiing. I mean, I'm watching all the good things happen, but there's just something weird about what he's doing. And he's using his upper body to create the torque.
You just
Yeah.
get grip from that.
So there's not, so he doesn't have the proper, then you're saying separation of upper and lower body.
There you go. There's no separation between the upper and lower body. All the separation happens laterally. He's not leg turning. At what point in time can you say the legs are pointing in a different direction than his upper body? Ever.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah. Never is
That's
the
not
word.
going to pass a level 3.
No, it's not.
No, that doesn't even pass level 2 these days.
Well, there's a sliding scale. It's more like this, right? And level 2's down here, so you got a lot more room to be shitty. When you get up here, it's like, oh, we got not much room. And then we go to RMT and then you flunk and you're like, but I'm a good skier and I was better than I was last year.
No, you just got to go skiing with Mike a few times and then you'll see your faults will just come out like bomb.
No, he just tells you.
You'll be exposed completely.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah. That's the problem with this guy is that he doesn't, I shouldn't say that's a problem because he's a good skier and he might be able to do it. But what he's demonstrating here is his inability to rotate his legs independently from his upper body.
What if he tries to eliminate this up and down movement? Would that allow him to rotate his legs?
I think the up and down movement,
flex more on his hips and knees.
yes. I believe that the up and down movement is a result of the fact that he's using his upper body to turn than it is, it's more of a symptom than the cause. Does that make sense, Roman?
Yeah. So, but the cause is that he's standing up more than he.
I think that, well, he has to get rebalanced. So the upward movement is a result of the fact that he's using his upper body to twist. He has to get back up again to switch from one side to the other. Because watch his outside leg. It moves to the forward. That's that artificial counter that we've been talking about, right? Where
What do you
his,
mean artificial counter?
it's artificial counter. You can always tell artificial counter because of the direction it points. It points to the outside of the turn. So we'll catch him. And then we can get Mike to talk a long monologue about it. All right. So watch right there. Which way are his hips pointed? Inside or outside of the turn?
Inside.
Inside? How can he have one leg? How can he have his inside leg pointed or be more forward than the outside leg and then have it the hips pointed to the inside of the turn? That's like physically impossible. So he moves right there, he's square.
He's square, yes.
And then he moves his inside leg forward and watch that. Now which way is his hip pointed? Or his hip pointers, if you drew a line and put for a better word, which way does his pecker be pointing? It's pointed to the outside of his skis.
It's outside.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
I'm sorry. But it's true, right? I mean, well, okay, I don't know whether it is. I'm not going to go there. My mind's already off on a tangent. But he's to the outside. His body's pointed to the outside. His hips are pointed. His pelvis is literally pointed with his shoulders to the outside of the turn. His skis are already pointing to the inside of the turn. Right?
So you're saying the upward movement is allowing him to begin the rotation.
It allows him to begin the rotation. So in my case, or in Roman was saying, okay, the upper body, so because he extends at the top of the turn, that's what's creating it? No, I think this is a result because he has to reestablish himself in order to start to rotate the other direction again. You have to have a pause point. Sorry for the crude illustration there.
No, I was referring predominantly to the body position where he was square before he initiated that next turn.
Yeah. So honestly, between you and me and the fence post, I think he probably could rotate his legs independently of his upper body. This looks a little contrived. I think he's too good a skier to not be able to do that. But I think he has a misunderstanding of the task.
Chuck,
Okay?
can you say a little more about his hip, not the pecker, but his hips are being pointed to the outside of the turn, but where should the hips be pointing? To the inside of the turn?
They should be staying to the inside of the turn. Your pelvis should be moving less than your legs. So your legs should move like this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
What he's doing is he's shoving the leg forward, which opens his hips up to the outside, and then he dumps in this way.
Yeah, okay. So it's like a sneaky hip dump.
He's a very disciplined skier. He's very good at what he does, right?
If you put him on different terrain, it would expose a lot.
It would expose a lot, yes. We're watching him do basic parallels here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Any questions on this one? I didn't do the full thing. Artificial counter is from the top instead of from the skis. Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I mean, where else would you do artificial counter from? It has to happen from the top of the turn. It's kind of useless to do it anywhere else.
Well, you said from the top.
Yeah, he does it really early. Like this turn here, he almost uses, see how the legs are apart right there?
Yeah.
He uses a little bit of a rotary push off there to start that inside leg moving forward. And then he notices his pelvis is pointing to the outside of the turn before his skis start turning. Yeah. Oh, well, yes. Okay, artificial cut, yes. It does. But this is a really, really disciplined skier. He's very good at disguising all these pieces. Right? And these are the kind of guys, Katie, you're going to be running into, Alona, you're going to be running into. And the point of this exercise is to look at him and say, what? This is pretty good skiing, but there's something weird going on. And what is this weird thing that's going on? I don't know. Who else is in this group? Mike, you don't have to worry about it. Mike is awesome. Mike disappeared.
No, I'm just trying to keep up with you.
Oh, that's a lie.
But if I were to look at this skier from the level 3 concept, A, he's a pretty refined skier. B, he has the ability to maintain or control his rate of rotation. As a result, he has speed control from top to bottom of the hill. The downside of it is his transition into initiation is longer than his shaping phase. And his shaping phase is also shorter than his finish initiation. This happens because even though his ankles, knees, and hips are flexed, at the start of the turn, he's got really good flexion in the sense that the ankles, knees, and hips are flexed pretty much the same. As the turn continues, you'll see the knees start to bend more, though he keeps flexing the hips. And towards the end of the turn, the hips start to open. As a result, it elongates his transition because his first movements have to be an opening of the knees to get him over the middle of his skis. Once he's over the middle of his skis, his first movement to get a turn started is a lateral angle. No rotation, but a lateral angle. The shoulders tip. There's a pause because it takes a while for where the angle in his shoulders are to finally reach his feet. Once the feet start to tip, which is, and there's not a lot of pressure on the outside ski till just before the fall line, there the skis engage the snow and the outside shoulder really starts to help drive him through the turn. But at that point, he actually starts to open his hip joints, causing the weight to go back and causing the tails of the skis to hang on. So this is why he's getting that long transition and long finish phase, because he's locked up at that point. It also means that his pelvis has aligned at this phase of the turn. So his first movement, somebody's been telling him, you got to go along the length of the skis. Well, he's definitely doing that with both knees extending, moving him forward. But the turn starts with the lateral tip in the shoulders, and then the outside shoulder follows through.
By the way, that was the RMT version, not the level 3.
I was like, my God,
Yeah,
how are we ever going to do that?
As soon as,
Was
soon as he
like-
started getting into body mechanics and making connections with other fundamentals, that's
Well,
That
level
was-
3, you need to make connections with other fundamentals.
Right, but that was a
We
work
did.
of art. The way you craft. Were you just sitting in the background crafting that the whole time? Or did
No,
that
it
just
looked
come
so
out?
good. It sounded so good as he was.
It was
turning.
so good.
No, I
Wow.
wasn't crafting it. I just, at the very last minute, I put things together.
Oh.
And I started with where we started with the fore aft with our level 1 people. So I started with fore aft and went forward from there.
yeah. And
What-
I agree. There is some I've in the $1 million again. When you get into level 3, you have to start thinking. I firmly believe you need to start thinking about the whys. Why is he doing what he's doing?
Mm.
Because the examiner is going to be like, why is he doing that? The description isn't going to be any different. And Mike's description was very spot on.
But I
how he
did add some
extends and moves
Ys in
forward.
there, which is required for level 3. I probably had too many Ys, so shut me up when I get
No,
to
actually, I don't. I think you had a lot of body mechanics, which was what everybody was wowed by, right? Everybody loved the body mechanic piece, and that was 100% accurate. The key is that why is he combining the fore aft with the rotational piece? And that's where you're like, okay, he has a
That's what you're
pause in there
saying,
because he has to realign,
Yep.
because you were
and he
saying,
has to move forward because he's been told to pull the skis back, and that takes time.
And there's two things, and he took the forward movement literally.
Yeah.
So he's going across the hill and you'll see his shoulders tip. And the skis will start slowly to drift down the hill. So he doesn't just let them wash out. He's controlling that rate of rotation till just before the fall line. You'll see the skis start to engage. You'll see that because snow's starting to displace. Then you'll also see that outside shoulder drive through the turn to keep him aligned over his skis so he doesn't have that upper lower body separation.
right, but the right, so it gets back to what we were saying a few minutes ago was he needs to improve upper lower body separation so he's not throwing that shoulder around.
Yep.
Yes. And the key is for me, David, is that I think he can do that. He's just not demonstrating it. Right? He's too good a skier. He's very, very skilled at combining that steering action, especially at the middle of the turn, that he has the ability to rotate an edge, which now we just got to figure out why he's doing it with his upper body and not his lower body.
So
we need to create that independent movement.
You know, this is an individual, and I agree with Chuck. I think he can do a lot. But I think what would be interesting with this individual is to do some funnels. But at the waist of the funnels, instead of just doing a couple short radius turns, have him do linked pivot slides.
I was
Not
actually
pivot
going
slips, but pivot slides.
I was actually going a different direction. I was looking at lane changes.
Okay, that's going to accomplish something similar.
Yeah.
But the reason for the linked hockey slides or the linked pivot slips, if you wanted to go that way, is for those to work. It is going to keep his upper body directed down the hill in the throat of the hourglass.
It's a drill to emphasize that upper lower body separation.
Yep.
Yep. Show me you can do it. Now we're in, well, same reason. Can we, and the point that I would be looking at from that Katie was asking why lane changes. Same reason. Because when we change from one side to another, it shows his ability to, when we're doing the short radius turns, his ability to stabilize his upper body and let the legs rotate, but how he moves from one lane to another, that's a medium radius turn. So now we're making a short radius turn into a medium radius turn into a short radius turn again. And that really demonstrates the same kind of thing that Mike was doing. He might get away with cheating in a funnel. He couldn't get away with doing that in a lane change because he's got to be disciplined his upper body, and then trying to do this with a medium radius turn, it's going to show right away.
The other thing that I think the funnel would help him with is learn how to adjust his ski to ski balance to link those hockey slides up. Because as long as he's banking, he won't be able to do them.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have to align his pelvis and he's gonna have to learn to move his weight over the outside ski, direct the pressure to the outside ski and flex those legs independently.
Yeah.
And
And
Chucks
I,
will actually help him flex his legs independently to go down the hill as well.
and I agree. This is where I kind of agree and disagree. I think there's a certain point in time where funnels, I honestly feel like sometimes you can cheat a funnel. Maybe I can cheat a funnel, but lane changes, going from a short radius to a medium radius turn, you have to be pretty damn disciplined. And
People cheat on the lane changes because they use a traverse to go from one suite of scribed short turns to the next
that's
suite.
that's
They
the
actually
problem.
don't change their rotary movement and
That's
make
the
an arc
problem.
out of it.
And that's the problem is that you can't get away with that because it shows instantly. It's just suddenly, oh, I've stopped rotating. And instead of rotating into a medium race, into the bottom of medium race, into a top of medium race, they just go straight across.
Yep. And I think in the hourglass with a hockey slide,
Mm-hmm.
this individual is not going to be able to slide straight down the hill without making some modifications because
Yeah.
you can't do a hockey slide or a pivot slip with your pelvis across the hill.
Mm-hmm.
But this is now we're into the RMT level part of this exam. And
Now, this is the level 3 part.
well, no, we're into subjective. Let's put it that way. We've gone from the objective to the subjective.
That's okay. It's coming up on 8 o'clock too.
It's already, yeah, oh my God, it is.
Mm.
Questions, last questions. Anybody got any questions?
I apologize if I was too detailed. Smack me around a little bit.
No, we have still 9 people that are like, why am I still here? Anybody got anything they want to say that they got from tonight? Or was it like David and it was just completely wildly overwhelming?
I think between the examples and then the way you did a level 1, level 2, level 3,
Mm-hmm.
definitely, and then just and then the way you both pulled in common threads into describing what you're talking about and then transitioned it into fundamentals. Like I think I'm starting to see that there's a path that
Yeah.
because it's one thing to read your script on the email you
I
send.
know.
It's like
You got to
another thing
actually
to
try.
try to get it out of your mouth.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think I think pulling it all together and then also hearing the way you talked about like the beginning, middle, and end phases of each turn. Yeah, we just keep practicing it. But I didn't think I didn't think you went over the top. It was just like it was
No,
kind
he
of like
did.
the pinnacle.
No,
It was like, whoa, that was cool the way you brought in like I didn't even think about the shaping phase being too quick. Like so that was all of it came together. So I just yeah. I'm trying to say it was very helpful to kind of pull in all the things we've been talking about all summer a little bit tonight.
yeah, yeah. And I probably went a little too far into the behind the stage thing and wasn't
I
enough
don't
about.
think
Mike did a
so.
really
I don't
nice
think
job of.
so.
Mike did a really
I
nice
think it
job
was
of getting on the
excellent.
stage and doing it in front of the crowd. I was like, these are the processes that I go through when I'm watching a skier like this, and I'm like, these are the weirdnesses, and the weirdnesses come from this and this, and now I can describe what's actually happening with the body mechanics. It took me
I,
a little
I
longer
thought
to
it
get
was
there.
very helpful.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, very much. So you're going to continue to do the pattern of level,
we
just
are, but
level
you
1, 2,
guys
3.
at some, yes, we're going to probably do that. I think next week I'd like to get Joanne to do her thing on the spine. We'll find out whether she's going to be ready or not. If not, we're going to do more. Okay? Because there's an infinite number of videos on YouTube, and if I don't have any on YouTube, I got a million videos. And we'll tear these people apart, right? And look at them very, very literally. The part that I'm really interested in with you guys is, where is the objective part? Where are the parts and pieces that we actually see and we can describe? I think one of the problems we've had in the past is where we get into subjective. Where are we going to go with this person, right? And that becomes a personal decision. But we want to be able to see what we all see first. Who's going to be on the Wednesday call?
I will.
Who is it this week? Does everybody know?
I
Pray
don't
for
know. I
Jen.
don't have a schedule.
Pray for Jen.
But I want to, in closing, just say that when I saw the video of this skier, something was off. I couldn't put my finger on it. And just as Katie said, yeah, I read the script, I read the grid that you pointed out,
Right.
but I was having a hard time just picking out the small details of the level 3 skier. The level 2 skier was easier.
Yeah.
But the level 3 skier is a strong skier.
Yeah.
But as we began to pick apart the lack of separation, leading with the shoulder, which it was very clear he was using that for power, it was very helpful tonight, the
Good.
descriptions and especially the detail that Mike went through.
Good.
So
Good.
yeah, I'm very overwhelmed. I'm super overwhelmed.
This is the time of year to be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
But it was very helpful. Thank you.
And honestly, Alona, if I try to, I don't think I've emphasized this enough. I'm trying to keep it in simplified language. I feel like sometimes those Wednesday calls dive into that ski instructor language that I hate so much. And let me know if something you're not understanding at all, because I think it's very important that we have a common language.
I think the examiners want it to be simple. They want it to be simple and straightforward.
Well, if they did, why do they keep coming up with weird derivatives of words?
But that's for the PSIA speak. But I think in the actual exam setting, I think that what the examiner wants is, just as we were discussing tonight, picking apart that level 3 skier, that we
Very
see
simple.
that the body performance, he's leading with the outside shoulder, etc., but not looking for the kind of detail in the PSIA speak. They're looking for practicality.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that. Of course, Tom Golden failed me because I used jargon. And that has stuck with me. And now that as I move through the process, it's stuck with me even more.
But Chuck, are you going to lay out the process? Because I passed my level 2 skis several years ago and I didn't get the rest, and they've changed all that, which sucks because I was injured, right?
Just be happy you got the ski out of the way.
Well, I got the ski out of the way, but like there's an exam I heard, like you got to take this exam with a proctor. And then it was all different. Like and then you had to do an MA exam, and then you had to do a teaching exam, and that's all separate.
You still got to do an MA, and you're going to still do a teach. Now, in the Pacific, in the West, they used to combine them together. They're kind of
well, they stopped that obviously till this is all new now.
So all of PSIA now has to do a MA version, and then they have to do a teach. So that's what we're doing here is the MA, right? And then we can take that stuff and say, because you're teaching your peers, that's why we're showing higher level skiers, right? So that first guy that you have for your level 2, you're probably going to see a guy that's very, very similar to skis, very similar to that. And then you're going to have to look at him and you're going to have to do an MA on him. And then you're going to talk about yourself, because that's the technical portion of it. So we have an MA portion and a technical portion. Does that make sense? And here in the Rockies, we did an MA on one of our peers, and then we had to talk about a technical piece about ourselves. and what we're
For
working in,
example,
what we're working in our own skiing, right?
okay,
And then we need to go back and say, these are the things that I'm doing to make a change.
in our own
These are
scheme.
the reasons why I'm doing them.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
That's the technical piece.
Right. Okay. So that's the MA. So is this MA going to, but somebody said this was an MA written exam.
No.
No, it's not. It's
No.
always on snow.
Oh, okay. Well, that's new because several of my friends, they had to take an MA on a piece of paper with a proctor.
Well, you might be going in, it depends on it depends on the division again. You might be going into a studio with an examiner and they're going to show you a video and you get a piece of paper and you get to write down your notes and then you get to describe what you just saw.
Yeah.
That's still an MA. But the problem is you still got to talk about technical stuff.
Okay.
Or what you're still doing in your own skiing, and it's really about you. Okay? And what they're trying to do is great. You can describe what the skier's doing, but we want to probe the depth and breadth of your knowledge in skiing. And the best way to do that is to talk about yourself. Because you know what the best subject in the world is?
Chuck.
Me.
Chuck, talking about Chuck. That's the best one in the world. You just pointed it out. It's
I
all
love
about him.
talking about me. There are no others. It's all about me. Me. So that's the exam. And so we want to talk about other people and then we want to talk about what we're doing in our skiing. And in the Rockies, we had to do it twice. We did it once in the morning and then we do it again, a repeat again in the afternoon.
Okay.
So,
And that should be the national exam now.
yeah, and how that's supposed to work. If you don't have access to the assessment forms, you can go to the PSIA RM site. You don't need a password, and you can go to educational materials and you'll find links to the assessment forms.
Or you can send me an email and I'll drop them into an email. I have them all
Okay.
downloaded.
But that will tell you what you need to do. But overall, it is supposed to happen on snow. And
Yeah,
the
but
way
it's
they
not out
want
on the
this
West
to
Coast.
happen, yeah, proctors are in the past. If
They
at all
do,
possible,
yeah.
it is to happen on snow.
Okay.
That's the
Oh,
national.
because they did it, and the guy, friend of mine, Salty, he was like, they made him go in a chat and write what he saw, and it was all online, and they made a proctor, and it was, I mean, and this guy's he grew up on the ski team, he flocked it. You know, it's like,
Yeah,
really, he skis better than, anybody in the mountain, and he's like, yeah,
Doesn't matter how good a skier you are, you have to be
But-
able to use
This is the criteria to standardize these exams across the nation. These are all to happen on snow.
Oh, hey,
Now,
by the
that
way,
being said, sickness or not enough snow or something, they may have to alter an exam, but overall, it's supposed to happen on snow. And what will happen is they will ask you to ski basic parallel turns. And
already did
it
all
might
that.
be on groomed terrain. It may be in easy bumps, but they're going to say, we want you to ski basic parallel turns. Then you're going to come down. And if I'm the assessor, I'm going to look at you and say, wow, those weren't bad. Tell me, what did you do to make those round turns through those bumps?
Okay, got you. Okay, so that's the MA part, because I already passed.
No, that's the technical part. You
That's the
have
technical
to
part.
understand what your body did to make those round turns and
Gotcha.
bumps.
Okay.
And then what's going to happen is I will flag the next person. They will ski down and you will do an MA on them doing the same assessment activity, and it will be a peer. It won't be somebody out in the public. It will be one of your peers.
Got it.
That's the way the national assessments are going.
that's how they're supposed to do. I will tell you right now that I looked at the calendar like yesterday, and Central is still doing MA over online.
Yep, and they can until 2026.
27, yeah, 2027.
Well, the 26-27 season.
Then when's the
They've
teach?
got one more year to make all of this work.
So the teach is on your peers too. All right, hold on. I'm gonna go ahead and stop this because now we're kind of beyond what we're doing, right?
Mm.
Thank you, everybody.
Mm.
So